All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is where you're calling in from. We're so excited for you to be here today for this conversation with some really amazing young people titled Voices Through Time. This is a part two of our three-part Conversations with Youth collaborative mentoring webinar series. My name is Jake Sullivan. I use he, him pronouns. I work at Mentor National as the Senior Manager of Field Learning. As people are dropping in the chat, gonna give folks a couple minutes to get settled in. Actually gonna play some nice light jazz as well to set the Please drop your name and where you're calling in from in the chat. All of us here today, myself as well as the presenters, are in Baltimore. So I'd love to see if there's anybody else in Baltimore. But as you're getting settled in, drop your name and where you're calling in from in the chat. We'll get started in just another minute or so. If you're just joining us, welcome to today's webinar, Voices Through Time, one of our conversations with youth. Very excited for today. Awesome. Starting to see people drop. We got Rhode Island, Massachusetts, California, Maryland, Boston, Virginia, Pennsylvania, some more Pennsylvania, Philly. Okay, there we got our first Baltimore, Washington, North Dakota. We're getting all corners, Alabama. Amazing. Oops, closed that by accident. Thank you all so much for being here. If you are just joining us now, we're here to have conversations with young people and hear about their experiences. We'll get into some of the details in just a bit, but thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon, morning, or evening. All right. So with that, I'm going to move on to the next slide to just go over some housekeeping items as you're continuing to drop your name and where you're calling in from the chat. We want to get to know you all as much as possible. But first, we'll dive into some tips for engagement today. So as you're already doing, use the chat box. I think I've seen everybody switch over already from talking just to the hosts and panelists to everybody, so that's great. If you haven't already, make sure to click the three dots and click talk to everybody so everybody can see your messages. Continue to talk with one another, respond to our presenters. You can also use the emojis in the toolbar. Share resources. This is supposed to be kind of a collaborative community building learning space, so we want to hear from you and your expertise. If you have any questions, drop those in the Q&A box, and we'll get to those towards the end of the call. And then you can also upvote any questions that you'd definitely like to see answered. If you haven't already and you'd like to, you can also enable live captions also on that toolbar so that you can get captions at the bottom of your screen. And then last but not least, if you haven't already, please drop your name and where you're calling in from in the chat. Just a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and it's going to be sent out and posted to our website. I'll drop that in the chat now, mentoring.org/CMWS. So you can find the slides, the video recording, as well as any other resources we talk about today linked there. I do have a couple quick polls for you all just to get to know folks a little bit more and tailor our conversation. So in just a minute, the first poll will pop up. It's asking you for your role in the mentoring field. So what is your role? I know I always say a lot of us are wearing several different hats in the mentoring field and in this work. So feel free to choose whichever one you're wearing today, whichever one you like the most, brings you the most joy, whatever it is. And I'll give you all about 20 more seconds to answer that poll. And if you selected other, I'm always curious, drop in what your title is or what your role is in the chat. Student engagement and events manager, thank you for that. The director, perfect. All right, another 10 seconds or so. Grant writer. Perfect. All right, I'm going to end the poll, share the results so you can all see that. So it looks like most of us are mentoring program staff or practitioners, but we do have some mentors in the room, some educators, researchers. We have a parent caregiver and another young person slash mentee in the room. Always happy to have you both here. So thank you for joining. And I'm seeing perfect. Other people are dropping their titles in the chat. Thanks for doing that. Perfect. So I have one more poll for you all. I'll stop sharing that one. The other one is more kind of linked to today's conversation. So this next poll that you'll see pop up on your screen is asking, does your program or organization currently have opportunities for youth participatory action or ways to incorporate youth voice? And this is just to get a sense of where everybody's at with some of the things that we'll be talking about today and hearing about. There's no judgment. Everybody's on their own journeys, and this is hard work. So if it's a not yet or not sure, that is totally okay. Give another 20 seconds or so for you all to answer that. All right, I'm going to end it in 5 seconds or so. Perfect. Now, share that out. So great news. A lot of us are already doing this type of work, which I'm so happy to hear. And for those who say not yet or not sure, hopefully you'll just get some strategies and tips today to get started on this work. Again, it's hard and it's complicated, but I think our presenters will give some really practical, based in lived experience ideas for how you can really listen to young people and engage them in different ways. So thanks again. I'll stop sharing that. As just kind of an overview for what you can expect out of today's webinar will be a candid conversation about what young people need from you. And the goal is to provide participants with information that will ultimately help them better support youth today. So I'm going to start introducing our amazing panelists and presenters for today. So first up, we have Dante McCray, who is 21 years old, 2023 graduate of Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. He is dedicated to bridging the gap between young people and adults in Baltimore. He's also a full-time mentor at Dunbar High School, youth leader for My Kids, FMK, otherwise known as, and leader in Joy Baltimore Street Chronicles International Mentor Program. He helps youth from all backgrounds discover their confidence, build discipline, and find their purpose, facilitates conversations that build mutual respect and create stronger, more unified communities. And then I love this quote that he had included in his longer bio. He doesn't just talk at young people, he talks with them. So everybody give Dante a warm welcome, send some love to Dante. Next up, we have Joshua Sherman, who is 17 years old, a junior at Copen Academy, principals, and is on the principal's honor roll. He's also involved with Joy Baltimore's mentorship program, Street Chronicles, and Merit, which is a medical program. His passion lies in addressing health disparities, and that also comes from his lived experience. He's presented at the Johns Hopkins Symposium on child mortality rates in women of color, and his ultimate goal is to become a nurse practitioner to make a real difference, to diagnose, treat, and advocate for patients who need someone who not only understands just their symptoms, but also understands their story. So also give Joshua a warm welcome, both with the emojis in the chat. Love that. Last but definitely not least, Jeanette Simon, who is the person who brought this group together, amazing partner of the Collaborative Mentoring webinar series, has over 32 years of mentoring experience providing technical assistance and trainings to programs at every stage of development. She is the founder and CEO of Anna and Isaac LLC, the director of the mentoring division for Concerned Black Men National, in which position she has secured over $6 million in funding and served more than 800 African-American middle school boys across 9 states. She has 7 years of experience with the Maryland Mentoring Partnership, 8 years developing and co-coordinating a corporate-sponsored mentoring program. She's collaborated with Dr. Michelle Kaufman at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, serving as a mentor advisor and earning co-authorship on 4 published articles. 1988 or 89 Morgan State University graduate. And of course, she's a devoted mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. So show some love for Jeanette Simon for bringing this group together, helping to plan this webinar. So grateful for Jeanette. With that, I'm actually going to pass it over to Dante for some opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dante McCray, and I want to welcome you to Voices Through Time. Today, we're doing more than hosting a presentation. We're creating a space where the past and the present can finally hear each other again. We live in a world where young people and older generations often feel disconnected, misunderstood, and unheard. But the truth is, we are not as far apart as it seems. Our stories, our struggles, and our dreams are woven together. And when we take time to listen, we discover just how much we can teach each other. Voices Through Time isn't just about building that bridge. It's about honoring the wisdom of those who came before us while empowering the voices of the youth who are shaping what comes next. It's about understanding, healing, and working together to strengthen our schools, our families, and our community. Tonight, I invite you to listen with an open mind and speak from the heart. Whether you're a student, an elder, a parent, or an educator, your voice matters, and together our voices can close the gap and spark real, meaningful change. Thank you for being here. Let's begin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua Sherman, and I want to welcome you all to Voices Through Time, which isn't just a conversation, but it's a call to listen. Every day, I see the burns of Baltimore's youth, and every day I see the barriers trying to dim that light. I felt the way the systems that don't listen, don't bend, and don't care enough to meet us where we are. I've watched young people juggle school, family struggles, just trying to survive, and still they show up with creativity burning in their chest and hearts wide open. And I keep asking myself, what actually changed if somebody, if anybody truly heard us? This presentation, Voices Through Time, this is my way of making space for that question. For that truth we keep whispering, but nobody seems to catch. Yeah, it's rooted in history, in the beats and the resistance of those who fought before we were even born, the ones who paved the streets with their blood and their dreams. But it's also rooted in my own experience and late night conversation I have with my friends who are exhausted and the frustration that sits heavy in my stomach when another adult talks to us instead of with us. And the hope I refuse to let die even when someone around me says I should. I'm not standing here as some expert with all the answers, but I'm standing here as someone who's lived within that disconnect, who sat in classrooms where teachers looked right through me, who's seen how youth get watered down, cleaned up, and straight up ignored when it's time to make real decisions, and who believes, deeply believes that when we center those voices without trying to fix them first, without an agenda and without fear, we unlock something so powerful that it could shift this whole entire city. So today, we're not just talking about problems like their theories on the board, but we're co-creating solutions, real solutions, and we're listening to students, teachers, and community members. We're using data because the numbers actually matter, but we're also honoring emotion, story, and truth. The staff, the stuff that doesn't fit in spreadsheets but changes everything. This isn't just a presentation you sit through and forget by lunch. This is a conversation. This is my community. These are my people, and this is my city. And I'm not letting our voices get lost anymore. So before we get into the presentation, I would like to introduce to you an important part of me and Dante's support system, Joy Baltimore. Turning pain into purpose, the heart behind Joy Baltimore. Founder and CEO Lonnie Walker knows the struggle and vulnerability of youth because he lived with them. Born and raised in Red Hook, Brooklyn, Lonnie turned down his own experience with homelessness into a lifelong commitment to empowering at-risk youth with compassion, dignity, and hope. From homelessness to hope, Lonnie's journey. Lonnie's path wasn't easy. Experienced homelessness firsthand gave him a deep, unshakable understanding of the fear, loneliness, and instability so many young people face today. Rather than let his struggles define him, Lonnie made them his purpose. In 2016, fueled by passion and with nothing but an unemployment check, he founded Joy Baltimore to fight the growing crisis of youth homelessness in Baltimore City. And I just want to say that from my own personal experience, everything that this is saying about Mr. Lonnie is true. He listens to you whenever you have anything going on. He doesn't just say that he cares, but he actually shows it with his actions. But most of all, he practices what he preaches. So many times I've had an adult tell me they were going to do something over and over again and it hasn't been done. Now, once has Mr. Lonnie told me he was going to say anything and it hasn't been done. So I just want to take this time to say thank you for Mr. Lonnie and I'm grateful for this opportunity. Next slide, please. So Joy Baltimore's mission and vision. At Joy Baltimore, we transform personal pain into power by empowering at-risk youth to survive, heal, and thrive. Through safe housing, mental health support, and career development, we build brighter futures for Baltimore's most vulnerable young people. No one is ever turned away. For our vision, we envision a Baltimore where every young person, regardless of their past, has the opportunity, support, and hope to create a successful future. Joy Baltimore is committed to ending youth homelessness, one life at a time. Next slide, please. So here at Joy Baltimore, our core values, we believe in meeting every young person with dignity, empathy, and unconditional support. At Joy Baltimore, compassion fuels our missions to create safe spaces where at-risk youth are seen, heard, and empowered to heal and grow. We transform adversity and opportunity through mentorship, housing, mental health care, and career development. We empower youth to build resilience, reclaim their futures, and thrive against all odds. Every young person deserves to belong at Joy Baltimore, and we welcome all youth regardless of background, identity, or circumstances, creating a community where diversity is celebrated and every voice matters. Next slide.
Okay, so why we chose our program, which is Joy Baltimore, is because one, they help a lot with mental health. We offer different mentoring programs. We also do bullying prevention and health and wellness. Next slide. Some of our core values at Joy Baltimore is that we empower, inspire, and transform. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so one of the mentor programs here at Joy Baltimore is called Street Chronicles, which was founded by Joy Baltimore um alongside a different programs such as For My Kids, Cultivating Change, Rich Foundation, Release.us, Different Regard, Core Connections, and Mission Fit. Those programs all came together and sat down and decided to create a place for young men to feel safe, vulnerable, and also seek benefits of being a part of the program, which is housing, employment, scholarships. We take them out for fine dining, and honestly, being a part and moving up through the ranks in this program has given me much more light on what it means to really show up for the youth and for myself as well. Next slide. And one thing we always say, and Mr. Lonnie has always said, is it takes all of us to move the needle forward. You go to the next slide. Now I'm going to turn it over to Joshua so he can begin our presentation.
Okay. So before we begin, I just want to take a quick moment to talk to everyone about why we chose this conversation. And the main reason is, does anybody really listen? The biggest gap when it comes to supporting Black youth in Baltimore, adults don't really listen. Like they say they care and they say they want to help, but then they don't ask us what we actually need, or worse, they ask us and then they don't believe us when we tell them the truth. It's like they already made up their minds about what our problems are before we even open our mouths. And that right there, that's the gap and that's the disconnect. That's what makes real support feel impossible. We're dealing with real stuff out here: trauma, violence, grief, and stress that most people our age shouldn't have to carry. But when we go to school counselors, half the time they don't look like us. They don't get where we're coming from, so we don't feel safe opening up. And when we do try to talk, it feels like they're just reading from some script, checking boxes, and not actually hearing us. Then there's the creative side as well. So many of us here in Baltimore are doing amazing things such as music, fashion, tech, and activism. But the programs that are supposed to support us, either they're broken, underfunded, or they're not even built with us in mind. They're built for the adults who think we are, not who we actually are. And don't even get me started on those meetings and news panels where grown folks sit around talking about saving Black youth like we're some kind of problem that needs fixing. We're not a problem. We have real ideas, we have leadership, and we have solutions. We just need adults to actually take the time and trust us and give the mic. And that's it. And that's all that we're missing. And we just need someone actually willing to listen to us so that we can actually state our opinions and give our input and feedback. Next slide, please. So the way we did this presentation is we asked surveys to students to actually give them an opportunity to speak their mind instead of adults just telling us what to do. So the first question is, what's one thing at school that makes you feel like your voice doesn't matter, and what would change that? So the reason on why I asked this question is because a lot of adults tend to downplay children's emotions and problems as if they're not some sort of big deal. This question gives students the opportunity to speak about their experience with adults, um, give gives them basically the opportunity to speak about their experience with adults like this. And also it gives them the input to put in what adults can do to change that and make it better. So we asked these questions to a few students. We have two responses from 16 years old, and they say all school rules are made up by adults. We should listen to the youth just to see what they have to say. And from the other students, sometimes teachers and staff already made up their minds about who I am before I say anything. So a few solutions that me and Dante came up for these questions are I wish that well, actually the 16-year-old actually wrote this solution, but me and Dante also want to put our input after this solution. So I wish they would listen without having to put their own judgment in, or maybe have some student-led meetings where we can actually talk about what we're going through instead of just being told what to do. So another solution that I had was mandatory staff training based on student feedback. So instead of adults choosing what training they think they need, there will be a student council that helps to choose topics such as anti-bias training, how to talk to students with respect, and resolution and restorative practices instead of punishment. I feel like this just gives students an opportunity to speak about what they actually want to do instead of adults just pushing things on them because they think they know what the right thing is just because they're older than us.
So another thing to bounce off what Joshua is saying, being a staff and being able to interact with students, especially high school students, which are much bigger voice, we have things in place like SGA and different other programs, but they're not really allowed to control really the culture of the school. So they often just control really proms and big events, but not nothing that actually has to do with the community of the school, the input that if, like for example, students like to have more days where they can express themselves through uniform. Students like to have more days where they can pick the field trips, pick the educational field trips that they decide to go on because being in the new generation that we are in, all our educate we don't learn the same as how people in older generations did. We learn more of interaction and we learn more through tech. So I think that a lot of the disconnect in the school just comes from students just not being taught in an interactive way that they would want to learn. You can go to the next slide.
Okay. So our second question, outside of school, what's something in your neighborhood or home life that makes it harder to succeed in class or plan your future? So I chose to ask this question because a lot of times when students are either disengaged in work, not turning in at work, or either sleeping, a lot of teachers think it's because they aren't applying themselves or because they just don't care. When in reality, there could be multiple issues going on in their home lives. This question just gives students the opportunity to bring those problems into light so that teachers and adults will be able to better provide them with the right support systems. So one of the questions we have comes from a 16-year-old. I live over in West Baltimore. There's always police sirens, noise, and sometimes arguments outside. It is always so hard to focus or sleep. My mom works 2 jobs and I take care of my little brothers. By the time I sit down for homework, I'm already drained. So a solution that I came up with this problem is that if schools have more after school programs such as tutoring, mentoring, things like that, that also provided food and rides home, I believe that a lot more students will actually show up and get help. Because it's not like they don't want the help, it's just like they have issues going on at their home that prevents them from getting that help. So if the school provides that support, I believe that a lot of students will actually show up to receive that help.
Um, Once again, just to tag on to what Joshua is saying, I think that it also creates a space for students feeling like they're just used to the sirens and used to the violence in the city and just in the generation as one, to where when we get to those schools and stuff, we don't really know how to interact with each other because our guard is all the way up. So it's hard for us to really talk to each other and connect with our teachers because if all I know is violence and chaos, I'm not really thinking about what I'm learning or what is really going on in my head and not having nobody to really vent to because we already looked at as part of the big problem also creates that disconnect between the youth and the adults.
Right. I just want to add on to what he said. I just feel like if Baltimore schools had more mentors that look like them and actually are from the city, I feel like, and they showed that they actually made it out and showed them that what's going on, and they actually showed them like they made it out because they was in that same position. I feel like if students had someone to look up to that have been in the same position that they have been in, it will give them more hope that they could be like that person and actually make it out and succeed, just like that person who was in that same position that they were once in.
So just one last thing, just to touch base off what Joshua said. I believe that having more mentors that look like us and been through the same thing as us is fundamental because I just know for myself, being a young mentor in a high school, a lot of kids gravitate towards me because I know what it's like and I know the issues that's going on outside of school. So I'm more so the overall pick when it comes to venting or needing anything because I can relate. I feel like if the older generation just gave us a chance to really talk and really look at our perspective, they'll understand what we need more and really what the students need more. You can go to the next slide.
So for the third question, what helps students feel safe, respected, and motivated, and what shuts them down or makes them want to give up? So this question is mainly for school staff and adults to use as a guide. The students are directly stating what makes them feel respected, but also what makes them feel inferior or less than those adults. So the main purpose in asking this question is to make things easier on adults because we're basically giving them the script that they need to make us feel like we actually belong. So what this student says is what helps is when teachers treat me like a person and not just a student ID. When they check in, say what I did right, and just talk to me like an adult. I feel respected. What shuts me down is when I get yelled at in front of the class and when people seem to worse me because of my appearance. And I just want to say that personally, I can relate to this student as well because I have a teacher in my school and she's actually white. She's not even black, but she's always checking in on me. She always talks with me, not just about the schoolwork, but also what's going on in my home life. And I feel like that's what more black adults need to do within our community. I feel like if they just check in every once in a while and didn't always make things so professional, that we would actually create a bond and get closer. And I feel like that would also affect how we are in the classroom. Because if we have a tighter bond in the classroom, we can negotiate more things and actually try to get our grades up within that class because we actually have a connection with that teacher who we can actually talk to.
Um, just in my personal opinion with this question, I wrote a response, which was what makes me feel safe, respected, and motivated is when I'm able to me being 21 and able to give teenagers advice that's only a couple years younger than me and see them actually take it and move much further and much faster than I was at that age keeps me going and keeps me like hoping like the more I go, the more I'll be able to help and the more people I really see change in our generation. Like I know I can create that and close that gap in our generation between the older and the younger. But another thing that also makes me give up, which is also when I receive feedback from older mentors or the older generation thinking because of my age they belittle me and think I have nothing to offer. But in my opinion, I get results faster and I get better results overall because of my age and who I am. So I know that every time I see change based off just some advice I gave somebody, it just keeps me going and keeps me getting up and trying again or going at it a thousand times harder.
Right. And I just want to say that I feel as if there's only one solution to this problem right here. And that's if adults taking what the students are saying with high regard. A lot of adults try to make students seem like they're inferior because they haven't experienced as much as they have or they haven't lived through the things that they lived through. But I feel like adults have to understand that it's a new generation now. New experiences are going on, possibly even worse than experiences that they have been through. And I feel like they just need to learn to adapt to that change to be able to understand where we come from so that we could build a greater connection. But you can go to the next slide, please. Sure.
So with this question was asked to adults, in other words, staff members at the school. And the first question is, how do you build trust and connection with students, especially those who seem disengaged or frustrated? The answer we got from a 32-year-old was, I treat students like the young adults they are. I try to meet them at their level, literally, emotionally. I also keep it real and I share a lot of myself. Now, while this is not a bad response, it also brings up the topic of when youth come and share to us as adults and trying to confide in us, it's important that we don't make it about ourselves because we are there to help heal their traumas, not our own in a way. So if you going to somebody, if the youth is coming to you to help for help, there's no need to really make it about yourself because you don't know what they're going through in a sense of being in this generation and the weight that is on this generation. So I feel like if we just kept it more so towards them and how we can help them, we'll have much better results. But I also answered this question with my own opinion. So when it comes to building trust, I believe that building trust and a connection with the students is a challenge, especially when adults in the school are also the ones who give out consequences and have our fates in their hands when it comes to an academic standpoint. So naturally, students tend to set a boundary like we are the bad guys. And I believe that showing empathy and being vulnerable in a professional manner can allow students to feel more comfortable and dropping those walls they have built up. It's also a way to connect with with the youth and discover traumas that we faced growing up that youth are still facing today and how we can help heal that part in them and also ourselves. So I feel like if we just like Joshua keep repeating, if we just open our ears more and just listen, I'm telling you, we'll be much more further than where we are.
Right. And I just want to add, and while I agree with Dante that a lot of adults tend to share about themselves when students come up to them with problems that they have, I feel like some of the main reasons they do that is because sometimes adults experience what we've been through. So if they experience what we've been through, and I feel like and they're giving us feedback, I feel like that just helps us prevent that problem. So I don't mind when adults, when I come up to them and talk to them about a solution, they give me experience that they've been within that same solution, within that same like experience, that problem that we both share. I actually really appreciate it because it's like they're like telling me what to do and what not to do, so I don't relive the mistakes that they made. And I feel like with that, it becomes less of an issue because we learn from each other.
Just to add one more thing, I feel like another thing I see just being a staff in schools is that the disengaged and frustrated students, we tend to judge them based off how they look or just based off just who they present themselves to be. But I feel like if we was able to touch deeper on who they actually are and get a feeling of where they come from, we wouldn't be so quick to judge because a lot of us have similar backgrounds, just growing up in the same city. You can go to the next slide. Another question that was asked in the school to staff was, what do you think youth wish adults understood about their lives, struggles, or dreams? And how could we listen better? Two responses that we got was one from a 32-year-old. I think students feel misunderstood overall. We can listen better by simply just listening. There is, and another one that we got from a 64-year-old. There is a big change in this present generation, especially in technology. So with this question, we didn't really get too many responses because it wasn't really a yes or no response. And that's another reason why the youth don't really feel heard because we don't really give our effort into how we feel that we can connect with them and how they can connect to us. So the fact that we didn't get too many responses in this question really shows that we're not giving the youth a chance to really speak up and make a change in our generation as one.
Right. So just to add on, as a youth, something I wish adults understood, not personally better about me, but about themselves, is that they were once youth. I feel like once adults get to a certain age, they feel like they have too many responsibilities or they're too old to like remember how it was for them back then. But I feel like if adults actually took the time to remember what it was to be like a kid, remember the time when they had to follow rules and adults told them what to do when they didn't like it and they wanted to rebel. I feel like if they just went back and felt that for a moment, they would feel actually what we're also going through. And I feel like we could all connect from that. We could all learn from that. We could all create new things from that just to make it better for the whole community.
And another thing, I think that just simply humbling ourselves and being open to these results would get us much further as well because I see a lot of people just off me knowing and working with a lot of older people are stuck in their ways and think that their way is the only way that change can come or things can work when life literally thrives off of like diversity. So if we have a diverse like so we have a like diverse solutions on how we can close this gap and get to know each other much more other than just a split between the older and the youth. and oh, they don't listen because they're younger, they don't listen because they're older. And we just both sides need to humble themselves and realize, one, the older generation has been in our shoes similarly, and the the older people need to realize that the youth are really just getting started and where they used to be. And I feel like if we focus on remembering our journey and what it was like for us, we wouldn't be holding our head so high as far as feeling like we got all the answers.
Right. So I would just like to bring a solution to the table for this response by the 64-year-old suggesting that there's been a great change in technology. I feel as if youth and adults will come together as like this program, and youth would teach the older adults how to work technology. I feel as well that that will also be a great bonding time between the youth and adults. This is a chance for the adults to take a seat and actually let the youth come up and teach them a thing or two instead of the adults always trying to teach or tell the youth what to do. But it's also a great moment for the adults to be mentors for the youth. So it's basically like you give and you get. You're learning something from the students, the adults are learning from something from the students, but also the students are getting advice, conversation, bonding time with the adults. So I feel like those two really go hand in hand, and I feel like we could create a greater bond with students and staff by doing something like that.
With that, we're going to take you into the next slide. So, do we have any questions? This is the time for you guys to ask us any questions and keep the conversation going.
All right, perfect. So yeah, we definitely have some questions in the Q&A. I do have a question that I thought of that I think might be helpful to then lead into some of these questions. So I'm wondering if both of you could speak to what made you want to get involved with the programs that you are involved in. You're both like very involved in several different things, but thinking back to the start when you either someone reached out or someone was like, hey, join this program, or you saw a flyer, whatever it was, what was the thing that you were like, yeah, I want to be a part of that for both of you?
Right.
Oh, so I'm involved in multiple programs, one of them being a healthcare program called Merit. I don't know if any of you have all heard of it, but I'm involved in that program. And the main reason I joined that program is because of my parents, honestly. And with this new law being passed that takes away their healthcare and all this and all that, they don't really like have enough money to really pay for it. So I just want to become a family nurse practitioner, and I just want to be able to help out my community and struggling families such as that with my own influence. So I just want to build up that brand for myself. And I just want to start my own clinic. And I want to just be able to help out people that look like me. Because I feel like my people would be more comfortable seeing a doctor that looks like them instead of seeing doctors that, that say they do all this and all that, but like they don't really, as I said once before, they don't practice what they preach. So I just want to be there as a inspiration for my community, and I just want to help make them more comfortable. And I just want to bring everyone in, and I just want to help them all out. So that's one of my main aspirations for why I want to pursue the medical field career.
For me, I've always had a niche for helping people. So, just like a brief backstory, I got out of high school, was working a job, but while in high school, I always wanted to start a mentoring program. I just never focused on it. But jump back to me working at jobs right out of high school, my head got a little big, and when I got fired, I had to humble myself, and then I bumped into my first mentor and still mentor, Jarrell Wilson, who owns For My Kids, and basically Jarrell helped me realize like mentoring and helping people is really my passion. It's really something that I have easy, like I get into it so easy. Like when I get into that groove of helping people, I really like it's easy. It's so easy. And being around Mr. Lonnie and getting introduced to Mr. Lonnie and getting introduced to the whole Street Chronicles team and just being a mentee at first, I really was able to soak up so much game and see people who is already where I want to be. So it just really gave me more motivation to keep going and knowing that what I want to do in my life is people that already done it, and I'm surrounded by them, so I know I'm on the right track. But also, just growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up on, I like to be different in a way. And it's so many people telling you to do the wrong thing or encouraging the wrong thing. It's no like I know I can make a difference in doing the right thing and showing people like you can be successful doing this way and taking these steps. A lot of our generation move off instant gratification and don't really know that things that matter, things that last take time. So I'm trying to teach that as I go and show them like and be a living testimony. Everything great is it takes time and it takes wins, losses, tears, sweat, all takes it all. I've seen it in all my mentors and I definitely experienced it myself just starting my journey.
Yeah, thank you both. You both highlighted so many great points there around the importance of, especially Dante, with what you were saying of having the lived experience, knowing what it feels like to have a mentor in your life, and then kind of both wanting to do that again for other people, but also for you, it just kind of comes naturally. And then, Joshua, I love the point that you shared around just the importance of seeing people that are like you and being in situations with people that are like you, because sometimes if that's not happening, then you don't know that it's a possibility. If you're not seeing people who are your doctors or who are your teachers that look like you, then it's like, is that something that I can even do? So thank you both for sharing those parts of your journeys. That leads into, I think, pretty well into our next question from one of our attendees. So they said, I love this conversation, and they're curious about your thoughts around why you think your peers who are not involved in a mentoring program aren't, what might be preventing them from joining either a mentoring program or some other youth program from your perspective?
So just okay, me being still a young mentor and still learning from older mentors, I know I didn't try to get my friends on like to join my movement and join things that I want to do. And it's okay that it's not them, but I think what prevents a lot of young people in my generation today from joining mentor programs is that it's just not what's popping. Like everybody is trying to keep up with the Joneses, as my mother would say. But I feel like I feel like we and I touched on this a lot in previous thing events I spoke at. We as a generation are scared to be ourselves. So when I say that, I mean we feel like if we don't do what everybody else is doing, we're gonna fail. But what people don't realize, and just what all the successful people I meet, they got successful by being different. So I feel like that is why so many people are not joining. And just for example, when Street Chronicles began, I think it was like 30 of us in that meeting that day. By the time the graduation, it probably was like 15. And I'm talking about a consistent 15 people that showed up, 15 people that got the resources and are much more further than they were when they joined. So I feel like if people see that if people see that if you join these programs and you really get a part of a real change, you will really be successful. And I feel like that is what people just look for success. They don't know the grind behind it.
Right. I would just like to add on to Dante. As a youth and as a youth who tried to bring my own friends and family into mentoring, I would say one of the main reasons that you wouldn't want to join mentoring program is because their surroundings and because they're not used to it. A lot of youth, especially in Baltimore, are used to guns, violence, bullying, things of that nature. They're not used to all these positive affirmation, already always being surrounded by positive people who want nothing but to help them. But they're also used to people trying to help them and letting them down constantly, yes, over and over and over again. They put their faith into adults and they just keep getting let down. And that's why it's hard for them to trust again. I'm lucky enough to have come across a great mentor who always is about his word. And that's one of the main reasons why I respect him. So I just feel like if we try to I don't know how we could possibly break that cycle because that's really all they're used to. So if we just bring them into more things outside of their comfort zone, you know what I'm saying? Like just bring them into more positive things. Maybe we could try to break it piece by piece to get them tender enough to put their trust in us again.
Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's huge. I think that point that you brought up about some people are just not used to this type of thing, or it's new. And it can be so vulnerable as a young person to be like, yeah, I want a mentor or I want to join this program because as kind of Dante, what you were getting at is that's sometimes not the norm. And so to kind of go against the norm and be like, actually, I want to join this. None of my friends are a part of it, but I do want this. Like that's scary. And that takes a lot of courage and a lot of trust in the program to then deliver the quality mentoring. So okay, we're getting so many questions in the chat and the Q&A. So I think the next one I'll go to, oh, and then the other thing I was going to say is I wanted to highlight something that I think it was Joshua, you said earlier, for folks in the audience, providing food, rides home makes it easier for people to participate in these things as well. If you're able to provide some sort of dinner, even if it's pizza or something, or of course something maybe healthy or whatever, then that might be an incentive to get young people to join your program to eliminate any sort of like barriers when it comes to food, but then also with the rides home thing, transportation can be a huge barrier as well. The next question that I'll jump into, kind of, I think this one was submitted towards the beginning of your presentation. Someone was asking, it was around the question that you all were talking about how adults can listen better to young people. And you were saying that an example would be letting young people or letting students choose like field trips that you go on
It's
versus.
breaking up a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me? How's it now? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you repeat the question? It kind of broke
Yeah.
up while you,
Yeah,
while you
yeah,
were
yeah.
saying it.
So yeah, I was saying it was this question came towards the beginning of the presentation when you all were talking about how you would appreciate it if
It's
adults.
kind of it's breaking up. Yeah, it's breaking up again. I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
don't
I'm
know
sorry.
if
Yeah.
it's us or it's your connection, but it is breaking up again. Let me see.
Yeah. Here.
All right,
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it in the chat and hopefully the
all
internet
right.
will sort it out. So that question, answer that question. What type of programming or field trips would you or your peers like to see? What type of programming or field trips would you or your peers like to see?
Peers like to see. Okay, so being in this mentor program with Mr. Lonnie, we've already been on a few trips, and a few of them that I like are always when we go out to eat. We go out to eat, we go to the arcades, and we just do anything for it. But we also go to places that teach us learning experience. Like we went to the Baltimore Banner, which is the newspaper. So we went in there and they showed us how they did their work and stuff. They showed us their whole entire department, their company, how all of them come together for a bigger purpose, basically. So none of them will be able to do the work that they do without their coworkers who they're insisting upon. So I feel like field trips like that are the educational that teach students how to coexist and how to teamwork, but also they keep it cordial and they keep it fun. Field trips like that, I feel like those are the best for adults, especially for me, which I found them to be the most interesting.
Just to add on that, another thing, I think students more so like, I think like as far as like at the school programming, I think we need to start teaching students how to use technology in a good way and more of an efficient way and a way to succeed. Like for example, I talked to a math teacher in Dunbar. We was talking one day, and he was saying that he hate the idea that teachers are shying away from Chat GBT and AI and everything. And it was different to hear a teacher say that because a lot of teachers I know hate Chat GBT. But he was saying that if we taught them how to use it in a meaningful way, he feel like students would be much more far along than we ever were. So, and me just being a couple years older than them, I didn't have ChatGPT in high school. So, being able to see different points of view and everything, I get what he was saying. If we learn how to use just our phones or our iPads or anything to be more efficient and to be more like what's the word I'm looking for? More punctual with what we're trying to do, I feel like we'll be much further and have a different outlook from the older generation. But also, I feel like Joshua touched on at Street Chronicles, another thing that we do, like we take educational field trips as well. It's not just always fine dining and eating out. We took kids to go fill out and make resumes and do career readiness and things like that, things that really matter. I can I know I didn't walk in throughout my school and ask how many kids do you have a resume or do you know how to create one or do you even have an idea on what you want to do? And a lot of them they just repeat answers that they hear their friends say. A lot of them do not have resumes or don't even know what a resume is. So I think that if we just focus more on things that really matter, we'll be much further.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you hear me now? Is my audio okay? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, we can
Okay,
hear you.
cool. Amazing. The interwebs sorted itself out. So I kind of have a follow-up question to that, your answer there, because I'm hearing a lot of skill building and educational field trips and programming would be helpful. Have either of you ever experienced a field trip or something like an after-school program that you were like, this is stupid, this is not helpful, why am I here? Like, what are some examples of field trips that you've kind of been made to go on that you're like, this is, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Um, I can't I can't even remember the last field trip I went on as a student, but I'm not that old though. But I will say recently there was a big debate because students they didn't get to pick their field trip. Like it's not how, like I said, SGA don't have no say so, or they don't have no say so on where they go. So a lot of them they basically want a skating field trip, and the skating field trip was probably for 500-600 students. Only 25 students came. So it's more so like if we gave students more of a voice to pick where do they want to go, what do they feel like is important for them to learn, then we'll be able to guide them. Okay, like yes, this is important for you to learn, or yes, or we can go here to celebrate what you guys have did. So
Right.
that's just my, Josh can
Yeah.
touch more.
Me personally, as a student right now, I've been on a lot of field trips throughout middle school and high school. And what I can say is a lot of schools tend to repeat the field trips that they go on, like skating, arcade, movies. They're just repeating it a lot. I feel like students get tired of the same thing after a while, you know? Like, all right, I've been there, I've done that. When can I go into like a different state maybe and do something that will actually benefit me? You know, instead of going on these trips that aren't really doing anything for me. Now, of course, it's nice to have fun, you know what I'm saying? But I just want something that will help better me into the future or like the health or the career path that I want to be a part of. You know, I feel like they just need to switch it up a little bit, you know, make some change.
Yeah. Thank you both for that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely having the balance of some fun field trips, but then also incorporating these other ones that you're talking about with whatever it's if it's going to the Baltimore Banner for other folks in other areas, their local news stations or that type of thing. The next question that we have is, so based on your experiences, once a young person makes the decision to join a mentoring program, what do you think mentoring programs and adults and people who run programs can do to help them stay engaged?
So basically, I can answer this from personal experience. When I first joined this mentoring program, just like any other student, I was it wasn't really what I wanted to do because, like I said, it wasn't what I was used to. So I may have shown up the first day, and then the next few days I hadn't shown up just because it's like, well, that's weird. That's not something I was used to before. I don't know if I like that. But my mentor kept persisting me. I feel like if for the mentor's persistence is key. You have to realize that not everything is going to happen overnight, and even students who lose interest haven't really lost interest. They're just not used to it or not comfortable enough with you yet. So if you really want that student to be there and you actually apply what you want that student to be there, you persist on that student and you keep persisting and you want them to be there eventually, just like me, they're going to keep showing up. And I've shown up every day ever since.
And I can add on to that because, like I mentioned earlier, just off of me just meeting Jarrell and just starting off with for my kids as an organization, I went there seeking job readiness. I didn't go there to, become a mentor or anything else. I went there for the support of the program, not to join the program. But he kept bringing me along to different field trips, like the shock trauma field trip, back to school drives and everything else. We did a lot of summer youth engagement down the harbor. So being able to have somebody that's investing into you, and you see it time at the time that you show up, it ain't even gonna be a thought to show up or to come. It's gonna be muscle memory. And like I said, with those 15 gentlemen that stayed throughout the whole summer program, I know for a fact it wasn't just because they was giving out money to the first person who got there. It's because they actually enjoy having somewhere where they feel wanted and they feel like they don't need to be a different person to fit in. Because truth be told, we all have our own different personalities and we all have our own different thoughts on things, and that's how we kept the program going. So seeing that mentors are invested in you and invested in a lot of our mentors are totally different people, so you got different personalities for different situations, and we all took turns and they all took turns as mentors leading the classes and sharing that insight. So what one person may not be able to break through, another person will, and that's how they go about it. They never just, and it's never like a just I'm gonna just pass this person off to you. They all of them put 100% into what they have to do. Like for example, I know it was one day, um, I asked one of my mentors for something, and one of the mentors, Mr. Steven, he actually was the one who got me through that, you know, through that point of my life. And I was able to have that vulnerable conversation with him. So just like they make sure that they work as a team to get us through what we need to get through. And that's how I was able to grow and eventually in the course of the summer become a leader myself in the mentoring program.
Yeah, I mean, I love that point around like the persistence, the patience that it takes, and that maybe it's you start off and you're like, oh, I have to go to this mentor program or this thing again, but then it, as you were saying, it turns into muscle memory. It's like, no, actually now every Tuesday I go to this place, I meet with my mentor, and it takes time on the especially the mentor's end, and the constant showing up and constant reminding, even if the young person is maybe hesitant or not feeling it at first. So thank you both for that answer. Um, Something that you both spoke a lot about throughout the presentation for the next question is that some youth prefer a mentor who is similar to them in whatever way. So whether that means similar race, similar gender, similar identity in general, whatever it is. But this person is kind of uplifting the reality that I think a lot of mentoring programs face, where a lot of the people who sign up to be mentors or sign up to be volunteers are on the older side and maybe are not the same demographic as the young people that the mentoring program is serving. So the question is, what advice would you give to those mentors who maybe don't share the same identity as their mentees to relate with their mentees? Let me know if you want me to repeat that.
Um, so okay, just a lot of the times when I was like taken to different events as a mentor or doing engagement events, I was always the youngest person there. And I always was able to, even just working at my job every day, I see how little patience that the older generation have with the younger generation. So I feel like that plays like almost the whole part with it. So as far as like they feel like, oh, because this person is not getting it instantly or they not listening to them instantly, it's just like they just lost hope. So I don't think that I think that if the solution to this will be more patient, be more understanding of they don't have it all right now, just like you didn't have it all right now when you were 15, 16, 17. They don't know all the right from wrong things, the mistakes, or a lot of the times they're gonna touch the stove even though it's hot. So a lot of times you gotta let them go through that, but you gotta know how to be a support system while they're going through it.
Right.
Because if you let somebody be themselves, it'll figure it out, and your guidance will be much needed doing that. And that's why a lot of the times, a lot of the youth they call it crashing out because they don't have nobody that's supporting them going through that change or going through that time in their life where they feel like they only got themselves and they trying to work it out by themselves. So
Right.
I feel like the support system and the patience needs to be there because nobody became who they was overnight, and everybody is still growing, whether you 15 or 50. So that's my opinion on that.
Right. Just to piggyback off what Dante said, a lot of young adults, I feel like what they need to realize is that most things that are worthwhile don't come easy. So I feel like if they're just constantly putting in that work and this is something that they're actually interested in, it's going to work out. You know, just keep putting in that same effort that you've been putting in since day one. A lot of people, young people treat these mentors like kind of relationships. Like they get the student, and then over time, since they already know that they had the student and they just get more comfortable, they stop treating it like since it's something they already had, they start treating it as if it was still important. They start caring about it less and less. If you put in that same effort that you put in since day one, you keep that same effort every single day, putting in that same effort in your students and that same amount of care and that same amount of love and that same amount of energy, I feel like everything is going to work out because it's you showing up every single day with that same amount of energy that you had from day one. And a lot of students like that because a lot of students notice that adults change when they got you with them and now they chill, they cool back. They're not trying to make it as intense as it was when they first started. I feel like they need to keep that same energy and keep it going throughout the whole entire experience. That's what students like, and that's what gets students respect.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm hearing a lot of like the kind of getting at the idea that mentoring is bi-directional, where the mentors have to be more patient and understanding of the young people, but then also the young people also have to respect and understand and provide some level of understanding to their mentors as well. And yeah, there's so much greatness in what both of you said. Kind of a follow-up. So say the mentor does not share, comes from a different background, maybe they're not from the same city or same location as you, or their mentee, they are just have had a very different life than the mentee. What would your all's advice be to that mentor if they're coming from a very different background than their mentee?
Uh, Um, I would say, that's a good one. I would say, dang. Okay, hold up. All right, I got my train of thought. Okay, I would say like being a mentor and having a mentee from a different background. How I personally would go about it, what I would first listen. Like, and when I say listen, I mean like attentively and to get all of what they're trying to say out or what is going on. And that's not to say every kid don't have nothing wrong with them. So that's another thing. We gotta stop treating it like every kid got something wrong with them when they come to these programs. Some kids just want support groups. But another thing is how I would go about that is like I said, I would listen, but then I will also try to take it's everybody has something that they can relate to. It's just inevitable in the world we live in. So take what you can relate to and build off of that. Even if it's just a favorite food, build off of that, and then you'll start building that trust for them to open up. You'll start building that trust for them to look at you as somebody that they can come to when they feel like they have nobody else. If you make yourself available and make yourself vulnerable, and well, if you make yourself open to just you got to be open to diversity in order to receive it. So if you're not open and you thinking your own way is your way and your curriculum is your curriculum, then it's you're not going to get far with that person from a different background. And that's a skill I feel like every mentor should have in a way of being able to diversify their advice, whether it's for a male, a girl, black, white, different heritage. You should be able to diversify and come to a solution to where you can help that kid
Right.
or anybody in my opinion.
Right. I feel as if a mentor and a student or like have two completely backgrounds and identities. I feel like that just leaves more space for them to get to know each other way better. And I feel like that would build a greater connection. You don't know anything about me. I don't know anything about you. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's get to know each other more. And let's just, work on what we can do better for both of our communities. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what's wrong in my community. Um, what do you think are some problems that, or, maybe you've had something similar going on in your community? What is something that your community has done to make that change? And wonder if we could put that same input or my community, see if that same change will be made, and vice versa. I could have something going on, like say I'm going through something similar that his students had to go through. I could give them input on um what they might be going through, and we can just exchange information like that and just get to know each other deeply, be starting from nothing, starting from zero, and work our way up. I feel like that's how most mentors should do it.
Yeah.
Which
Absolutely. Yeah. Starting small, going from there. And then I also love the point that you brought up of like not seeing the difference as a problem, not seeing the difference in experience or identity as a problem, but an opportunity. I think that's such a great way to look at it. The next question that we have is generally speaking, just in the world, I guess, this person is wondering, what are the biggest challenges or things that you and your friends or classmates talk about or think about? What are the things that you're really focused on right now in terms of what's going on in the world and in your specific world?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
so
So, well, as a student being in the classrooms, we mostly talk about the subject that the teacher is teaching, honestly. Like say I'm in my AP African American Studies class. Obviously, we're talking about the history of African Americans, but we're also talking about some of the modern history as well. And we're bringing in like real life problems going on from like currently. So we're talking about the news, we're talking about politics, we're talking about all these different things, and we're just bringing them from outside into the classroom to focus on as subjects for that class. So the teacher would say bring up a news article about something that's going on in the world right now, and he would make it part of that lecture and make it about the history that what people Black Africans back then went through as well. So in different classes we talk about the different subjects. So but like as for students themselves, most of them don't really talk about anything meaningful. I'm gonna just be truthful. They just talk about like things that are going on in their home, like silly things like TikTok and all that. What's been on Instagram? Oh, did you see that girl's story? Ooh, she trying to look like me on her Instagram stories, things like that. But they don't really talk about anything meaningful outside of the classroom subject. So, I feel like we should definitely be able to talk about more meaningful things so that we will all be able to like accomplish in life. Because we all have different things to talk about. I just feel like we need to bring that bring that on the table.
just really quick before I go off of his statement, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the question
Yeah, no,
was,
absolutely. So the question.
let me just mute you because I don't know, I'm getting audio feedback. But the question was, what are you and your classmates or your friends or your peers like focused on right now? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing?
I can say, okay, based off what Joshua was saying, I feel like he is 100% right when it comes to like things we talk about outside of the school building or just outside of a professional setting. It's not too much anything different to talk about because everybody's doing the same thing. Like when you go on social media, somebody's flexing something. When you go like TikTok is still social media, but when you go on TikTok, it's the same dance, the same. Nobody's talking about we need to start putting a 401k up together, or we need to start investing into this, that. But that's because people are not showing that side of it. Like I remember a conversation that I remember the conversation I had with one of my mentors, Armand, about me being mistrusting about everything that people say because people only show you people only show you the real people only show you what they accomplished. They don't show you the journey that took you to got there. And I say that to say we only talk about I can't even count on my fingers how many times me and my friends then had ideas or talked about something that we seen on social media, like for example, like wholesale real estate. Things like that we don't know what it takes to get there because we only seeing the people that's making $100,000 a month or things like that. So I feel like if people explain the process more, we'll be much more willing to work for it because we are like our reality will be different. Our reality lead us to know that we need to really lock in and work and the amount of discipline that it takes to get to where that person has gotten. It takes more than just getting on it takes more than just getting on the TikTok and looking and taking a course because a lot of courses out here be lies too. So that's how. And far as about conversations, Joshua, right? Most of the time, if we're not talking about the new shoes that's coming out, or what girl is that, or or boy or whatever, however it go, we not really talking about things that really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it sounds like, especially just based off of both of you sharing, it sounds like there's a want to do that. It's just maybe that some young people don't know how to, or are maybe scared or hesitant to. Kind of going back to what you were both saying earlier, of it's just maybe not the norm. People don't do it, so they're a little bit nervous to deviate from the norm. Um, oh, one more question just popped in. Let's see. What are the three? So this person is wondering, what are the three most important tools needed for a mentor and mentee? So if you can think of like three things that make a great mentoring relationship, what would those three things be?
So I would just like to say three things for me personally that would make me respect a mentor, and want to go to their program is persistence, patience, and practicing what you preach.
For me, it would be your morals. And when I say that, I mean like what you believe in and how you go about your beliefs. It'll also be who you are as a person. Because like one thing, and I keep bringing up my mentor Jarrell because like that's really like my guy. But one thing he always show, and he always make sure he keep it 100 with me and saying is, we not nowhere near where we going to be at. He been saying it since I joined him, and that tells me like he's not putting no or selling me no dream. He's telling me like it take time, and even though you see what I got now, I'm still not nowhere where I need to be. So a person morals and a person like and who they are as a person, and as far as keeping it real, that is very important to me too. And another thing is community. And when I say community, I mean the atmosphere in the room and how we interact with each other, and if we're able to be vulnerable, and if not, why are we not able to be vulnerable, and how can we change that? Or not even just that, like more so of a, can I come and talk to this person outside of this mentoring program? Like building real relationships is also important to me. So that's really four things that I would say.
No, I appreciate it. That's great. And I think it leads well into the last question that we have that was submitted a bit ago, but I figured we end before the closing remarks on this high note. Someone is wondering, what has been your greatest experience in the mentoring program that you all are involved in? If you don't have the greatest experience, you could also think of it, what's been a highlight for you being a part of the programs that you're a part of?
Yeah, so I'd say one of the greatest opportunities that I've had in this program is actually having received a job. I actually received a job through one of the fancy dinners we were telling you all about. We was at the fancy dinners, and there was a guy there, and his name was Kevin Brown. And I talked to Kevin Brown, and I found out that he ran a cafe. So I was actually looking for a job in a moment. I decided to take this opportunity to actually network and try to. I got Mr. Kevin Brown's number, and I texted him about any job opportunities that he might have, and he actually told me that he had one that upcoming Saturday. He told me that he was actually in really desperate need of a help for that day. So he told me that he really appreciated me doing that. So I just want to take this time to say that go on these trips because you never know what the outcome of them might be. You might think it's boring. Oh my God, I don't want to do this. I never did anything like this before. Why would I ever want to go to that? And you go there and your whole perspective is changed. You never know what's waiting for you in these opportunities. When you go on an opportunity, it might be another one waiting for you already there. So I just want to say this, have faith in your mentors. They always have what's best interest in your mind. They always have your best interest and they always want what's best for you. So I would just like to say that was really one of the greatest opportunities that I had.
For me, it was two things. One, it was when we all like, so we do in the mentoring program, we all work out together. Now, like I'm speaking on the summer. So working out with them during the summertime was probably one of like the most fun I had in a while, because you see different people coming together to make one thing work. So we had a bunch of different games we played in the gym. We had a bench pressing session, stations, and just look at it. When you look around the room, you see nothing but laughs, dedication, and people just trying to become better. And you could do that during working out. So that was a great way for us to interact and bond. And another one was the graduating ceremony of Street Chronicles. That was important to me because I had a conversation with somebody not too long, probably a year or two ago, and we was talking about how a lot of people highlight, as far as when I say highlight, I mean like getting dressed up and being in a suit or being in a dress and doing all that is prom. And a lot of people don't really get to dress up and be celebrated for something nice. So me being able to look at my brothers and my mentors and everything, and everybody coming out to support us, and we dress nice, and we got suits on, and we just like look respectable and everything. That made me feel like we actually making a change and we doing something different that's positive.
I love that. What a great note to end on. And I know you all have some closing remarks prepared. So let me move on to the next slide, and I'll pass it back over to you for your closing thoughts.
Yes. So for my closing thoughts, I just want to say thank you for everyone for joining. I want to say thank you to mentor. I want to thank my mentor, Mr. Lonnie. I want to also take my mentor who got me through this whole thing, Miss Jeanette. I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with you all. I've never done anything like this. It's my first time doing anything before this. And, at first I had my doubts, but I'm really glad that I took this into consideration. This is just, I loved everything about this. I love talking to y'all. I love giving y'all my input. I love the input that y'all bring back out onto me. I just want to take this time to say again, my name is Joshua Sherman. I'm a 17-year-old junior at Compton Academy, and I'm looking for nursing internships, volunteering opportunities, anything among those lines. I just want to further myself in my career path. So if you have any opportunities for me, please email me and let me know, and I would greatly appreciate it. I just want to say thank you all for coming.
For me, like you said, I want to start off by thanking mentor. I'll scoot over a little bit. Scoot over a little bit. Jeanette, come over. Just Jeanette, come here for a second. Let the people see you. Okay. Now let me tell you something.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
The coach that we had, the Ravens need. I'm telling you, she got us through this and made sure that we stayed on top of our things, and she stayed very patient and sweet to us. So I think like she's the best coach that we had.
Cool.
And I also want to thank, come here, Mr. Long, you can come over here too. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. My bad, y'all. Listen. I want to thank Mr. Lonnie for giving us this opportunity to really speak on this topic
Right.
and just be a part of something great. And I just also want to thank Joshua as a teammate. He definitely kept me motivated and kept me going throughout this whole thing. And I just want to end it off by saying my name is Dante McCray. I'm looking for apprenticeships or internships at any of you guys' nonprofit mentoring programs that can help me further my career and keep going. This is my email. Please reach out. I'm open to anything, and I'm not above anything. So please reach out. Please, send love, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you all.
Okay, I guess that's my cue to come in. I'm trying not to cry because everybody thinks I'm tough, but I'm really a crybaby. I wanna thank Mentor, of course, and Jake for pulling this all together for us. Lonnie, thank you for introducing me to these two gentlemen. When you talk about bringing the generations together and the disconnect, reconnected.
Yes.
Okay, and it was what, 6 weeks ago
6 weeks.
that we started this, and guess what? They still like me, So, so I'm excited for the opportunities for these gentlemen. And there's more to come. I know there is. We've got each other's emails and phone numbers. So, gentlemen, you are now stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere. But I think this is an example of the generations coming together. And trust me, there's a big gap between us, but we found ways to work together. I learn from them. Young people think differently, they work differently, but they still work. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
See.
I love it. Well, Well, thank you all so much. What an incredible way to end. And again, huge thank you, especially to you, Dante and Joshua, for putting this together. Not only did you uplift your own voices, but as we've kind of seen a theme throughout this whole presentation, community is so important, and you uplifted the voices of your peers and classmates, which I just think is so special, and appreciate the effort that you both put in, appreciate your vulnerability and transparency and sharing your experiences. And I think everybody's leaving with so many practical tips, practical things that they can do after this call, and even just ways of thinking of working with young people to, again, as we've been saying, reduce that gap. So kudos, congratulations to you both. This was such an incredible presentation. I have just a few slides left for further resources. As always, we have a network of affiliates all across the country who support with training, resources, public awareness, and advocacy. You could either go to our website, mentoring.org/affiliates, or click the link once we share these slides. The Mentoring Connector, you can recruit mentors to your program if you're not already on that by submitting your program, again, by going to that link or checking it out on our website. It's a national database of mentoring programs to get involved with. The National Mentoring Resource Center is just a whole bunch of resources, evidence-based guides, trainings, one-pagers, research, evidence reviews, population reviews that you can check out. There you can also apply for no-cost training and technical assistance for everything from helping with your recruitment plans down to working through a logic model. And then the new one that I included, this one came out this year, the Mentoring Program's Guide to Youth Participatory Action Research. So today was an example of something that could be considered YPAR, where you're involving young people in the process of making decisions at your program. You're involving them in the process of doing research or needs assessments and things like that. And this is a really amazing guide that mentors put together this year, full of worksheets and questions to consider and tips that, again, is on our website that you can check out if you're interested in doing that. Please take the 3 to 4 minute survey at the end of this webinar. It'll pop up on your screen. It's anonymous. Let us know how we did. Let us know what you'd like to see in the future. And then again, you'll receive the slides, recording, and resources in about a week. And it'll also be posted to our website. Join us next month. We'll have another group of amazing young people sharing their experiences on December 18th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. But again, thank you so much, Dante, Joshua, Jeanette, for facilitating and planning this webinar. It was such a great experience. You all did such a wonderful job. And thank you, everybody, for joining us and for your engagement and for showing so much love. Dante and Joshua, if you haven't seen this whole time, the emojis have been coming in for you, all of the rooting and gassing you up in the chat. I'll be sure to share that with you both. But hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.